Hi, sir. Good evening.
Madam, good evening, madam. Sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Good evening. Is it audible?
Yeah, yes, sir. Satish, sir, can you please open your video, sir? I will make a screen, sir.
Yeah. Is that okay, sir?
Yeah, yes, sir. Sir, we can wait for 10 more minutes, sir. Exactly 6:30 we can start.
Okay, sir. Okay. No issues.
Yeah.
So, how's everything at your end, sir? All okay?
Yeah, yes, sir. Fine, sir. All of you requested, please enable your video for photo session. All the participants are requested, please enable your videos. All participants, please enable your video. Mr. Vinny, Mr. Samson. So all please enable your video. Miss Neelima, Miss Bhuvaneswari, please. Sadi sir, shall we proceed?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay.
You can proceed.
Yeah. Good evening to one and all. It's my pleasure to introduce our chief guest who is going to deliver the today's topic, recent trends and developments by Dr. Satish Kumar Selva Perumal. He is working as an associate professor and program leader in Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering at ASEAN Pacific University of Technology and Innovation, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Partnered with De Montfort University, UK. His area of interest are image processing, speech processing, artificial intelligence, and VLSI. He have 20 years experience in teaching and research. He have 61 journals in national and international level. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Over to you, sir. You can
Okay,
proceed.
thank you so much. Thank you.
You can proceed, sir. Over to you.
Yeah, yes, sir. I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah, I will make a co-host to you. Just
Yeah,
a minute.
okay.
Now you can able to share, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay. So is it visible now?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Good evening, one and all. Okay, I am Dr. Satish. So I'll be just focusing on the recent research trends and technologies. Okay. I think like this is best suited for the faculty development program that has been arranged by Associate Professor Dr. Ashok Kumar here. So like I know like the faculty development program is on emergent trends, okay, on basically on electronics and communication and networking. So in just focusing on that, I would like to reveal what are the current trends. So in order to look at what is the current trends, because like I know like we're all on same faculties, okay, of different institutions. So as faculties, we all know like the basic principles, but we just need to focus on what are the trends and the technologies that is being focused or currently in place, okay, so that we can mold ourselves with those areas and impart the same knowledge to our students. So that's basically our motto, as a primary motto for it. So with that, let me get into the contents of the session for today. So in today's session, I'll be just focusing on emerging trends. Okay, so what are the emerging trends like currently, and what will be moving next? Okay, so that will be focused on. And what are the research trends that are available online? Okay, so based on the online data and based on the experiences. And what is basic IoT? Okay, and Industry 4.0, 5G, and telco future technologies. So that will be more relevant to the participants as well. Okay, so whatever the data that is being presented here is, of course, it's already available everywhere, because now the whole world is in our hands, isn't it? That's how the technology is. So nothing special. So I'm just focusing and collectively giving you on the information that is around the world. So let's move on with that. Now, the first thing that I wanted to introduce is on the hype cycle. Okay, so the Gartner's hype cycle is a famous hype cycle that is basically in order to understand what are the emerging technologies around the world or around the globe. Okay, so that's basically this Gartner's hype cycle. And this cycle is basically is from American. Okay, it's based on an American research and information system. Okay, a firmware which basically collectively does a survey, and based on the survey of different countries, okay, they come up with hype cycle every year. So it started in 2009, and this hype cycle has different meaning. Okay, just like our sine wave. Okay, just like our sine wave, like we have volts, we have the peaks, right? Peak to peak voltage and all those things. Similar to that, this hype cycle has some information driven to us. Okay. So let's look at what this information is about. So if you look at this the hype cycle is divided into 5 categories. Okay. So if you look at the first one is innovation trigger. As the name implies, innovation trigger is basically where for any technology to emerge. Okay. So that's where the concept is being developed. Okay. The need and the concept that is being developed. So that's basically the innovation trigger that we look at. And next one is peak of inflated expectations. So what is the expectation in which the development has to be moved on, right? So once you have a concept design, and the next stage is basically to develop it to the next level, right? So that's basically the peak of inflated expectations. And followed by is the trough of disillusionment. Now, what is this disillusionment is that for any system that is being developed, right? It could be a success or it could be a failure, correct? So therefore, it could be a failure or it could be a success. So if it becomes a success, it goes to the next stage of enterprise commercialization and gets into the hands of the customers. So that's what is the illusionment is. Okay, so for any system or any technology that is being developed, it always undergoes this phase of trough of disillusionment. And next is the slope of enlightenment. So the slope of enlightenment is basically where the system gets into production side. Okay, that means the development once we have developed the system, then it has to get into the manufacturing sector, correct? Or whatever it is relevant to the technology. So that's what is a slope of enlightenment. And the last one is plateau of productivity. So this is where it gets into the hands of the customers to experience them and to roll them. Okay, so that's basically the hype cycle is about. Okay, so hype cycle has 5 phases. So these are the 5 phases. Now, if you look at the labels here, the white basically indicates that it is less than 2 years for any technology to upcome. And the light blue is basically from 2 to 5 years. And the dark blue is something which is from 5 to 10 years from now. Okay. And the triangled yellow is basically more than 10 years. So that's what is this. So this is just an example of the hype cycle that was in 2017, okay, for us to understand what was being developed, okay. So if you look at something that is relevant here, which everyone knows is your 5G, correct? Sorry. So it's basically the 5G that is here, okay. And that was in the innovation trigger in 2017, if you look at, okay, according to the hype cycle. And then you had the, of course, the IoT platform, okay, and deep learning, machine learning, which are all related to your IOs, AI, okay. And this is what is actually in 2017. Now let's move on. I just included few years and the current years so that we understand how the technology has been trending. So if you look at in 2017, where 5G was as an innovation trigger, right? But now you can see where the 5G is. So it's basically at the peak of inflated expectations. So this is in 2019, okay? And of course, you have various technologies that have been developed as well. So that are more related to AI, okay, AI types and 3D printing and augmented realities and virtual reality. So that all came into existence already. But we do have 5G. We are just looking at some important trending technologies for which we are focused in today's session. So if you look at, so this 5G was in a peak of inflated expectations in 2019. And then moving on, so what is the trend that was in 2020? So if you look at in 2020, you can see like which one is in focus, right? So you can see like it's social distancing technologies and secure access and service edge. Now, why this secure access and service edge? I will relate this later at the end of the session here, okay? But you can see that social distancing and technologies have also been started because of the pandemic, which we can already experience it, right? We have already experienced it. But at the same time, you can relate something that is also relevant to it is your health passports, right? So this is also one of the areas that is being linked. But of course, if you look at most of the emerging technologies, they are not very specified or like they are not very traditional, okay? So they are basically mixed with certain trending technologies, okay? So if you look at all the trending technologies or related with the intelligence, okay? The intelligence system is the one that plays a vital role because in the current era, we are moving towards a digitalization world, correct? So we are moving to a digitalization. But as we look forward in the trending technologies, right, I feel like there could be a disruptive in the technological world as well as in the world that we are living today. Okay, we won't be in the same situation that how we are now in probably in 2030 or in 2040. Okay, if you ask me, probably will be that. Okay, so if you look at that, that technology, I can say it could be a disruptive technology. Okay, it's my personal opinion, but I will let you know at the end of the session why it could be a disruptive and technology. Okay, let's move on. So I'm just whatever I'm telling you or connecting it, I'll be connecting it at the end. Okay, so you might feel like why it has been imparted here or why it has been shared here. So if you look at in 2021, okay, in 2021, I mean, like you can see like your 5G is nowhere, okay. Again, there's a story behind it, why it is not here around. It was seen in 2019, I mean 2017, okay, 2019 and 2020. And in 2021, it is nowhere in the hype cycle itself, you know. So that's the reason behind it. Why? Again, I will let you know at the end of the session here. And but if you look at on the peak, okay, on the peak of inflated expectations is non-fungible tokens. Okay, so NFT. Now this NFT is going to be playing the world. Okay, it's just like what can I say? A token associated with any commodity. Okay, so just like how we pay in order to get some consumable products, right? So there is a payment that is accommodated with any commodities, right? Like rupees or a dollar or whatever it may be. So similar to that, but these are not. I mean, you cannot exchange them. Okay, so that's basically is non-fungible token systems. So that is going to rule the world in future. So we are looking at some technologies or trends that could happen in 2030 or 2040 or towards the future. Okay. Now, with this exposure, okay, so what are the other strategic technology trends in 2021? If you look at, will be widely classified into three, okay, people-centric, location independence, and resilient delivery. Now, all these things are related to the platform in which we are all staying, electronics, communication, and networking, okay? So if you look at people centricity is basically Internet of behaviors, okay? Internet of behaviors, I know like we have been talking about Internet of things, but there is something called Internet of behaviors. Again, I will connect it at the end of the session here. Apart from that, you have other technological areas, right? If you look at location independence, could be distributed cloud, anywhere operations, okay, and cyber security mesh. And of course, AI engineering, as I told you, like this is basically an integrated technology that we are looking far behind, okay, from now. So that's what is the trending technologies in 2021. Now, all these technologies can be further classified into under different areas, right? So popular areas of augmented human. Of course, in augmented human, emotion AI is again a trending technology now, okay? Emotion AI. And with respect to digital ecosystems, I know like everyone, what are the current digital, because like we are moving towards a digital world, correct? So digitalization is important. But in order to have digitalization, decentralization is again important with respect to countries, with respect to any service providers, okay? So that is still required for us to have a digital ecosystem. And then when it moves on to sensing and mobility, again, we have your AR cloud, okay? And of course, like 3D. So again, this is where our drone technologies have been developing. So this is gaining a far importance in today's era. I know like everyone have been looking into this drone technology where it has been massively used by the two giants of the world, right? Especially China and India. And if you look at post-classical computer communications, that's where the 5G is. I know like, like we all have been hearing about 5G and some countries have been implemented it, but still I'll get back to you at the end of the session on 5G and more on the other trending technology as well in this aspect. And one more category that we will be looking into is the advanced AI and analytics. So all these are the five major areas in which all the trending technologies have been embedded into. So if you look at this AI, we have many AIs emerging in near future. Okay, so the whole world is based off intelligence. Okay, so that's what I can say for now as my personal opinion. But I think for any technology that is trending or upcoming, right, will always have its own advantages and its own disadvantages. So therefore, we need to handle these technologies carefully at any given time. Okay, so that's always going to be a challenge in near future. Now just get to have an insight of IoT. Now why I'm giving all these insights, because I have a connective conclusion at the end. Okay. So when you look at Internet of Things, that's what is IoT is, right? So we have different kinds of definitions for Internet of Things. We can say anywhere, anything, any device, okay, we can connect. Anybody can connect to the internet, right? At any time you can connect. So, and any service can be provided as long as the service is upheld, correct? I mean, like it's in the cloud or it's connected to the internet. So that's where. So, and any part, any network. So this is all of Internet of Things, right? Any devices could be connected. So if you look at the application perspective of this Internet of Things, okay, we need to look at their characteristics. So if you look at those characteristics of Internet of Things that makes it so unique is basically it's dynamic and self-adapting, self-configuring. So that means it's able to configure itself when any device, like when we have any service providers, okay, I mean like Airtel or Geo or any other application, mobile applications, right? So when we move from one area to another region or one state to another state, it should be automatically able to configure itself to the nearest networks, right? So self-configuring interoperable communication protocols is also required, and unique identity is required, and integrated into information network. Okay, so that's where the networking engineers and their researchers are more focused on, okay, integrated into information network. Now, when I say information network, it's a network that carries information. That means it carries data. Okay, it's a data-driven network. So that's where our technology is moving towards. Okay, so it's all related to this data. Okay, so the so-called word, it's data. Okay, so that's where we will be moving towards as a trending technology or as an emerging technology. So if you look at the Internet of Applications, I hope like everyone knows what are the information IoT applications are, right? So you have smart systems everywhere. Everything you can convert into a smart system. When I say smart system, it is being all interconnected to internet. So when I say it is all connected to internet devices, so it's basically the smart devices that connect the data, okay, to the cloud. So this is where we have, so if you look at all these industries, okay, your transport or agriculture or your living environment or your healthcare system or even the cities, okay, have to be smart. So that means we haven't moved yet, but there are developed countries, right, which have already moved into it. So there are smart cities around the world. So if you look at Singapore is a smart city, okay, if you look at New York is a smart city. So there are some cities in the world which have been already transformed into smart cities. But of course, you have challenges in all the systems and in all the technologies that I will be looking into it at the end as we move towards. So if you look at the popular IoT applications, okay, now as you know, like what is the emerging technologies, right? Now, based on these hype cycles, okay, there are countries of developed nations which actually invest their amounts into different development sectors, okay. Now, how these sectors are decided, it's based on one of the informations provided by the Gartner hype cycle. So based on this cycle, so then the researchers of that particular country or the government of that particular country actually invest, okay, according to the requirements. So if you look at in 2018, the focus was on smart cities, okay, on smart cities, followed by connected industries. So if you look at your connected health in 2018 was almost, I mean, it's down the earth, right? So it's a least priority given to it. And if you look at the red ones, okay, corresponds to the American regions, and the dark ones here corresponds to the Asia Pacific region. So that's where we all belong to. And the light gray corresponds to the European, and the very lightest one is the African continent, okay? So you can see like the Americans and the European countries, okay, have invested a lot, okay? So in what kind of industries they have invested. So that's what is this diagram shows you, okay? So although they have already started investing in the connected health, although it is at the lower level of their priority, okay, you can see. But whereas in Europe, you can see it was more towards on smart city. And of course, we from Asian regions, belonging to the Asian regions, our focus was not more because we are still developing, correct? But this trending, okay, if you look at in 2020 changed, okay? So you can see like instead of smart city, okay, it has gone to manufacturing and industrial, okay? And then transportation and mobility. And of course, the healthcare is still at one step higher, okay, which has moved from 7 to 6. So you can see like the trending technologies, like which is moving forward and which is going down. Now, how these are all interrelated? These are all interrelated with the government, okay, investments, the giants, that rule the whole world, and also like what is the technological research that opens, okay, for individuals like us as academicians, right? We need to get into research. So what kind of research opportunities will be available? So all these depends upon these perspectives, okay? So as academics, we should know like how the research trends goes on. So that's where we can get into our interest and focus and get a success outcome on what we have done. So if you look at the IoT related trends of 2021, it's basically focused on 10 important strategies, okay, or 10 important strategies of technology. One is to focus on security. Now, focusing on security is important. Again, I will let you know why. Then you have IoT in manufacturing sector, big data analytics and machine learning. So that's where we are. And then healthcare, I know like why it's trending now, and better workforce management. Now, better workforce management is also a technological growth, and it's a research area that is trending. Why? Because it's work from home effect post the pandemic. Okay, post the pandemic, work from home effect is basically better workforce management. So there is a gap between the employer and the employee. Okay, so again that's a massive area. So we are just touching it now. And of course, the smart cities, as I told you earlier, then cloud vendors and IoT in customer service. Okay, so developers to come up with IoT milestones and powering smart stores. So if you look at all these things are related to the IoT trends. Okay, so why IoT? You can now understand. So again, like as I told you, like connecting the massive Internet of Things, we have smart cities, correct, smart homes. So all these things are basically, what can I say, related to the Internet of Things. Okay, so why we need to have that? It's basically a power efficient, low complexity devices we need to look at, because our network cost has to be less. Now, why I'm showing you the big picture? Because behind the big picture, the challenges are hidden. When I say Internet of Things, it's not just Internet of Things. It is related to networking. Okay, it is related to networking. So when you wanted to connect all the data and you wanted to connect it globally across, okay, you can see like how much network of data of transmission is going to take place, right? So there is going to be a massive network revolution. Okay, massive network revolution that is going to be created, okay, across the globe. So again, that is going to be quite challenging. Okay, that is going to be quite challenging for the network engineers. So in order to solve it. And further down, we have other areas of application. So if you look at all these applications, right, although they are not directly related to our sector in which we are, but they are indirectly related to it. Now, all these sectors can only function if the base of these electronic circuits, okay, or devices are there, okay, and are able to communicate. So now our devices need to communicate. So without communication, our devices will not work, right? The electronic devices will not work without communication. So, and in order to have the data transmission, correct, and reception, our networks must be very, very thorough. Okay, our networks must be very, very thorough. So you can see there is a challenge. Okay, that could be a disruptive. That is in the future that we might be looking into in 2030 and 2040s, because the data around us is prevailing. Okay, so there is a big challenge ahead for researchers as well as for the service providers. Okay, so that's the hype that is going to see in future. So just now we have seen like what is Internet of Things, right? Now we need to understand what is this Industry 4.0 requirements are as an academics, right? We need to know like from academic perspective, what is the requirement of Industry 4.0? That's why I can change myself, or I can mold with the knowledge that is required for it, adapt, and then I can impart to my students so that they will be molded with the same knowledge, and then they will be an expert in the industry for which they are moving on. So if you look at industrial revolution, a quick glance of the industrial revolution, I hope like everyone knows, right? Basically, we had the first industrial revolution, right? So it's basically like by water and steam. And then we had second industrial revolution, third and fourth industrial revolution. Now, just to see the requirements of the third industrial revolution is the use of electronics and IT in order to automate the production industry. So basically, the important requirement of Industry 3.0 is automation. Okay, have all our industries have achieved this automation is a big question mark, right? We have not fully moved into Industry 3.0, but we have started climbing to reach Industry 4.0, right? So Industry 4.0, the requirement for Industry 4.0 is digitalization. So when we talk about digitalization, it's challenging for electronics and communication engineer. Why? Because of the nature of applications that is there. You can see, like, when you talk about digitalization, it is not like out of our hands. It is not under electronics or communication engineering. No, it is. Why? Because you can see where it is being applied and who are the key enablers here, right? So we need to have a mobile networked communication, affordable to access the information. So that's a challenge, first challenge, right? Then we have to have the information being shared across our communities, right? Our social medias. And then we have the service providers, okay, with protocols. And we are not sure about those protocols also, correct? And also, like, machine to machine regulation is still not there. And it is like we are nowhere, correct? We are nowhere currently. And of course, big data is already there, right? It has been already there, but what is the challenge henceforth is still there. Okay, so this is why we need to understand the requirements of Industry 4.0. So if you look at the requirements of Industry 4.0, there is still a gap in order to achieve Industry 3.0 itself. So how will we move towards Industry 4.0 achievement? Even though some of the Western countries have already said that they have achieved Industry 4.0, but still it's a big question mark. Now, let's move on. So the definition of Industry 4.0 is, again, it is not, you cannot claim that it is not relevant to our field. Yes, it is relevant. Why? Because it requires data to be connected, or data to be, data to be acquired, right? Through sensors, to devices, right? So it's basically the data communication that takes place. Therefore, it's basically the networking that interconnects all devices and transmits data, okay, and then analyzes the data and receives the data accordingly. So that's why Industry 4.0 understanding has to be very clear, that there is a big role play for the communication engineers as well as electronic engineers in order to combine these two platforms. Okay, so that's basically Industry 4.0 and IoT. So what is the difference when we look at what is the difference in requirements? So the difference is very simple. Industry 4.0 looks at connecting industries with Internet of Things, right? Or Internet of everywhere, correct? So Internet, so that's why it is called as industrial Internet, okay? That leads from automation industries, right? You enhance it from the automation industry. Whereas Internet of Things is more towards on smart devices, okay? So smart devices, you have all your data in your hands. So that's basically Internet of Things. So that's a basic boundary or demarcation between Industry 4.0 and Internet of Things. So if you look at the investments in IoT solutions, okay, by industries, it's still in manufacturing sector, okay? But other sectors are very, very less. You can see, like, where is our sector, which is professional, scientific, and technical services. We are still at the lower sector as compared to the giant of manufacturing industries. So what are the challenges in IoT? Now, if you look at, there are many important challenges in IoT, and these will actually lead to the research areas that we need, that we intend to. Okay, so security is going to be a big challenge. Okay, I mean, like, as we all know, like, our data are not secured, correct? Even though the providers say that it is secured, it is not fully secured yet. And of course, privacy will not be there, correct? I hope, like, we have already experienced in our day-to-day life, right? We will not be having privacy as such anymore. And connectivity and longevity will always be a question mark, right? Because, like, wherever you go, your connection may be or maybe high or maybe diminished depending upon where you are. But that shouldn't be the way. Okay, the globe is moving forward. The trending of digitalization, the requirement of digitalization is not that. Okay, so connectivity and longevity will be one of the challenges, and of course compatibility. Now, why I say compatibility is your data has to be accurate from anywhere or any part of the globe, right? Without changing the service providers of any of the countries. So that's the agenda for 2040. Okay, the agenda for 2030 and 2040 also includes the global connectivity. Okay, how to establish the global connectivity irrelevant or irrespective of the countries is going to be a big challenge. And of course, that involves a lot of information is required, and lot of ethics, professionals, okay, integrity, and all those things will be taken care. Of course, it's a bit of political, but not getting into it. So what will be the need for the research and challenges in IoT? As I told you, security is important. So your information must be secured. So this is going to be challenged, and this is already challenging. And then decentralizing IoT networks. Okay, so this is where the network engineers will have a research area, okay, to focus on decentralizing IoT networks. When I say decentralizing networks within a country is a bit easier, okay, but out of country, across the globe is going to be quite challenging, because you need to draw all the what can I say, the rules and regulations, correct? The acts have to be developed by individual countries, and countries have across the globe have to agree. So there's going to be a bit of challenging. And of course, the networking communication protocols, okay, at the physical layer also will be changed. So how it is going to be changed? Again, that's going to be a big challenge. And of course, cloud servers and lack of standardized machine-to-machine protocol. Again, this is have to be, what can I say, has to be addressed globally. Because when you want to share data globally across, when I say sharing data globally across is not through just internet, okay? Even when you talk about mobile technology, right? So when I have a SIM from India, probably an Airtel, when I take it across the globe, it should be active. That means like it should not be, I shouldn't be paying more money in order to have an international roaming facility, okay? But still, I should have a unique identity that is being tracked, okay? So, so this is what we are looking at in future, okay? So in order to have that, there is a lack of standardized machine-to-machine protocol. So that has to be developed. And also like diversified firmware and operating systems among IoT devices is going to be a bit challenged. And of course, slow adaptation of new technology. Okay, I think like still people are facing difficulties to adapt to these technologies. As I told you, like these technologies have good as well as bad. Okay, so I think like as academics, it's our duty to impart this knowledge, you know, like the widespread knowledge to our students is very, very important, because these technologies can lead them into a failure at times, and it could be devastating. Okay, we cannot even imagine. So I think like we need to emphasize on what is good and what is bad when for any technology that is upcoming. Okay, so I think it's in our hands as academics. We need to do our part to the society, okay, in which we are. Just to show some insight of this, this is not actually for you all, but just to share. This is one of the, what can I say, one of the research work that has been working on is basically a car make model recognition. Okay, I think like we all know, like there is, what is that, car recognition plate, correct, that has been for a long time, for ages ago or decades ago has been there. But now it's based on machine vision, of course, like even with a small information about a car, okay, we are looking to trace everything of the car, okay? It is not with the number plate alone, okay, the number plate image, or it's not just with the video or that is being capturing the image, okay? Even a small portion of the car, okay, a small portion of a car, your system must be able to identify and give us all the details in the sense, the history of that car. So where the car was manufactured, when it came into existence, what is the color of the car, who are all the parties that were involved in buying those cars, where it was imported and exported. So all such details have to be tracked. Okay, so again on this, I mean, it's quite challenging on the data collection. Okay, and also on using your AI, I mean, like the deep learning, right? So it's basically it was quite challenging, but anyhow we have completed a part of it. Okay, so it's a government funded project work here. So just to share on the work. Okay, so just to say like what is happening currently. So of course, like this will be basically will be enabling the government, right, to look at for security purposes. Okay, especially for security purposes. So that's where we are helping on it. And just to see like what's a gap in deep learning. I know like everyone knows like deep learning is the emerging technology, and everyone have moved to deep learning, right? When we look at machine learning, artificial intelligence, we had I mean, like we all know, like we have ANN and types of ANN, right? And we all slowly moved into deep learning and the different layers of deep learning. But however, there are some gaps that still need to be addressed in deep learning. Okay, like it is slow in learning, because you know like how much time does it takes, like when you wanted to train with large data, right? So although it has unsupervised learning not explored much, but it requires a lot of time, lot of information is required. Okay, and that's one of the drawbacks of deep learning. So people have been moving the next level of technology from deep learning to re-instance, okay, learning. I'll let you know what is that slowly again. So that's these are some of the gaps in deep learning. Again, these could be addressed in our researchers. Okay, so in our researchers, we use deep learning, but we are not addressing the gaps that is still left over. Okay, so this is some of the research area that you might wanted to focus on. Now, just moving on to a 5G. I know like 5G, we all talk about 5G. I mean, like we all know like the evolution of communication devices, right? We had 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G. In all these communication devices, we talked about data, right? So in our earlier days, we were talking about voice over communication, correct? So we are talking about voice. So now it is no more. Now it is data communication. So we talk about data only, correct? Because it's ruled by the data. So that's basically where we are now. Okay, so what is demands of 5G? If you look at 5G requirements, right, where you need to have 100 times more devices being connected, correct? And virtually zero latency. So zero latency is still far behind. Okay, we are not anywhere near zero latency. And speed up to 10 gigabits per second, and you need to have ubiquitous connectivity, right? Again, this is going to be a big challenge, and a very high capacity and especially faster response time. So although we have a lot of features of 5G that we expect in 5G, right? Some people have already started experiencing 5G in some countries, right? So Malaysia is also in the deployment stage. Okay, it's in the deployment stage actually for 5G. But soon we will be experiencing it. Okay, nevertheless, it all depends on how fast we are moving. Okay, from now. So probably by 2026 or before, of course, like by 2026, right? We should be experiencing 5G probably in another 4 years. Okay, but this was a timeline that initially announced. Of course, I have already given where it has been cited from. Okay, so 5G is supposed to start in 2020, but yeah, it has started. Okay, it has started in the certain countries like Western countries, and of course, we have some other countries nearby, right? So they have already started, like China, they have already tested and they have started. But the actual time is 2020, yeah? But let's look at what are the challenges, why it is being delayed, right? So again, that involves networking, right? So to reduce the operating cost of networks, and of course, like what are the features that are required, right? So that is going to be challenging in 5G. Whether the current devices can be used for 5G, is it possible, right? So there are so many challenges and so many questions. Okay, so that actually lead to the next technology. So what is the need for the design for 5G antenna design, or what even 5G network communication, right? So that's all related to the data. So if you look at in all these things, you can notice that IoT plays an important role, okay, and data plays an important role, okay. Of course, frequency is there. We all know as communication engineers, frequency is our part and participle of life. But the two other players who are integrated with us is basically Internet of Things and data. So that's where our trending technology is upcoming. So if you look at, as I told you, like every technology has its own pros and cons, right? Advantages and disadvantages. Of course, we always know what are the goods, always the advantages. We always lack on what is the drawback in it, right? So what is the current cons of the 5G? If you look at, okay, you need to have an enhanced indoor coverage, okay, in order to have your 5G. You also need to have wider coverage. Having wider coverage will still be challenging, okay? So because of the practical difficulties that we might be facing, okay, even though the service providers say no, but we will be having some distractions, okay. So if you look at what is in still research, is still there is a research in 5G. What is the current status? Have people been experiencing? When people are experiencing 5G, what is their output? What they are telling, correct? So again, like these are the questions, and I think like as academics, we all know the answers for this, right? So I will leave it to you, and then we will move on. What is the next? So at the end of, we are at the end, nearing the end of the session here. So telco future technologies. Now, what we have seen so far, I hope like you all would have understood there is certain things that I have been talking or stressing on, even though I covered like that the surface level, right? IoT and data. Okay, so this is where we are going to be. Okay, from now, probably if you look at from now, it's like you can say it could be an agenda of 2030 probably, okay, or 2040. So this is where we are moving towards. So we can look towards by 2030, okay, and from there onwards. So you can look at data is everywhere, okay, data is everywhere. So how or what is this world is going towards, or what is the technology that is going towards is data mining. Okay, why I'm telling data mining, I'm talking about all the words that are related to 2030, that is going to where we are moving towards. Okay, now data mining is because like we all use smart devices, right? There's no person currently now probably without a smart device. Probably like 10 to 20% of them in a population may not be having or using smartphones, right? But our smart devices. But we all have these smart devices. Now, when we have or when we download any apps, right? We actually download from the service providers, right? But there are some questions like when you download, you agree to everything, but we don't read all these, datas, right? All these rules or regulations before we say yes. We just simply say yes, and we get the app downloaded, and then we work on it and we forget about it. But these service providers are capable of taking all our data, right? Our contacts, they have access to our pictures, they have access to our contact numbers, right? So all the data are being everywhere now, right? So this is basically data mining, correct? Now, when you look at all the data are still available, it's like you don't have your own privacy, you're losing your privacy. You're losing your privacy basically, okay? Because the data is available everywhere and people can use it in good sense and can misuse your data, okay? So the service providers are responsible for this. But for this, in order to have a controlled environment, that's where the government plays an important role. So you need to have a proper rules and regulations being structured, which actually emphasizes on ethics, professionalism, and integrity. So this is where, the requirements are heading towards in 2030. So therefore, there is a requirement for Data Protection and Prevention Act. Okay, so this is where you can see like it's a lot of work that is being done around the data, because in future, okay, the giants wanted to rule the globe. Okay, when I say giants, there are only two giants. Okay, so it's basically I think like we all know that one is Apple and other one is the Android, right? So Android providers, correct? So these are the two giants which have millions and millions of data. Okay, so again, that's a big business or hub behind it. But anyhow, I'm not getting into that. But looking at where the technology is trending towards future. So what will be our scope in future? Okay, if you remember at the beginning, I did mention that it's going to be a disruptive technology in future. Why? Because of all these things. Okay, because of the evolution of the technology. As I told you, like the technology, there is good as well as bad. So how we are going to adapt this is going to be a real challenge. So that's why this data-driven technologies is going to rule in future. Okay. So what are the data-driven technologies that is going to rule in future? Let's look at one by one. So as I told you, like it's data prioritized technologies, right? So as I told you, like everything is data. Data is everywhere. Okay. So you don't have privacy. You don't have, you cannot see anywhere in your near future with security. Your data is not secure. Okay. So these are the challenges that we will be we will be facing. Now, during the pandemic, okay, during the pandemic, I know like everyone stopped working. We started working from home and most of the industries were halt, correct? But there were some giants. So because of that, we had losses, right? A loss in financially hit and loss in people, correct? A loss in economy for a country. So there's a huge losses. But at the same time, there were people who were gaining a lot of profits. Okay, from where they are getting these profits, they have been successful in their technological growth. Okay, and they have been gaining a lot. I told you like who are the giant players, right? So they have been gaining a lot and lot in millions and millions. Okay, but what is this resulted in? You know, this is resulted in, like China has launched satellite, right? Recently, but that satellite has been relating to with 6G technology. Okay, so 6G is adapted and tested by China already. Okay, so China has a 6G laboratory, okay, already in partnership with Finland, European countries, right? So European countries usually support them. Okay, so we're not getting into politics, but we're looking at the trends here. So with looking at, China has already established a 6G laboratory, okay, a 6G devices and networks and tested, okay, and the satellite which has been launched recently, correct, from China, is with 6G frequency. Okay, so that means like it works on a terahertz. So you can see like how the world has been moving. Okay, so 6G is there. Now we already know like from 4G to 5G itself, okay, the requirements are different. From 4G to 5G itself, the requirement is different. So from 5G to 6G, the requirement is going to be still different. Okay, so since 5G has not ruled out yet fully, okay, there are some developing countries which are still in 3G and 2G itself. They have not even moved to 4G, but we are moving to 5G. And 6G is not sooner, okay, not sooner or not later than 2030. So by now, like when you look at 5G, it all depends on how 5G catches up, okay? If 5G is trended in another 4 to 5 years, okay, like say, for example, by 2026, then by 2030, 6G will rule the world, okay? But it all depends upon the return of investment from 5G. Okay, so again, it all depends on the service providers and the country's economy. So if the 5G return of investment is going to, okay, it's at a faster rate, then basically once we have established 5G, then 6G will be very near. But what is the requirements of this 6G? Okay, we already have antennas designed, correct? We have our devices. Will this be suitable for 6G? No. Now 6G requires special requirements, okay? So again, that is going to be another area of research in which you can do. So you have communication part, you have antenna design part, you have devices part, you have the networking part of it, okay? So I will leave that for you to further research on that. But this is going to rule the world. Now, when we say about 6G, okay, is it only 6G? Now, along with, just to give you an information, I mean, like China did send a satellite, right? I mean, at 6G technology, but it also helps to have crop disaster and forest fire monitoring from satellite itself, okay? So this is where it's going forward, and that's how it is being trending. Now, as I told you, like deep learning is not alone going to be there. It's going to be reinforcement learning. So what is this reinforcement learning? Is basically now you're modeling everything to be a machine. Okay, so that's where our technology is moving towards. When I say 6G, when I say IoT, when I say data, all this are integrated. That means each one of it is going to talk to each other. Okay, so this reinforcement learning is where the system learns by itself. Okay, so you don't need to teach anything. You don't need to train anything. You don't need to do training, testing, and all, right? So now it is going to learn by itself. So that's where we are moving towards. So this is said to be autonomous intelligence system. Okay, an example of autonomous intelligence system is being developed by Samsung. I'm not sure if you all knew about it. It's being developed by Samsung. Okay, so it's called as intelligent kitchen. You know, like already, like as the technology has moved, okay, we have Food Panda, we have Zomato, we have Grab, okay, we have more service providers who deliver the food items to our house, isn't it? Now people at home, they don't even cook. They get ordered, your food stuff being ordered, so it is being delivered. The best example is Zomato, right? Zomato, Amazon, or whatever it is, right? Whatever the service providers are, they provide the food to your home, right? So you don't cook, so you just need to eat, right? But what happens, like if you wanted to taste a delicious food made by a particular chef, okay? So that's where this Samsung is moving towards intelligent kitchen. So you don't need to give anything. It's like once you enter into the kitchen or once you enter into the restaurant probably, okay, by your attitude, by your way in which you speak, okay, you just speak to a person like there's no one is inside, but you just speak based on your speech, okay, there are different models, okay, but based on your speech, you know, like if I wanted to have idli, maybe probably like by the best chef in the world, okay, say for example, then the machine will be able to prepare from the base, okay, and it is going to give you a delicious idli, okay, made as if by the particular chef, okay. So physically the chef no need to be there, okay. The system does it based on its experience, okay, based on the information given. But this is where we are going to move towards in future, and it is not very far, okay. As I'm telling you, like by 2030 it will be in place in the sense like we will be able to still experience it. So that's where these are coming up. So when I say autonomous intelligence system, the kitchen itself is being autonomous, okay, based on an intelligent system. So that means there is no need for us to cook or our wife to cook or a homemaker to cook anymore, okay. So we can just use the system to cook for us with all the delicious chefs in the world recipes, okay, without any changes in those recipes. So that's where we are moving towards. And of course, we know like already augmented and virtual reality is already there. And the other technology that is intelligent enabled system. So again, like every system is being enabled, as I told you, like AI. Okay, if you look at the hype cycle, the AI was there actually. So AI was, you have different types of AI, expandable AI, emotion AI, okay, knowledgeable AI. So all these are all classifiers of AI only, but a deeper in-depth technology is being driven. And then you have Internet of Behavior. Now, why is this Internet of Behavior again? All these are coming back to data. So as I told you, like when we have any app, right? Say, I'm not sure, like we have My Sejahtera app in Malaysia here. I hope like in India, we do have similar apps to trace whether you are a COVID patient, right? Whether you're positive, whether you're negative, whether you're being quarantined, right? So these apps, what they do, they actually know like where we are moving, right? So when we move to a hotel, we scan. When we move to a restaurant, we scan. When we go to movies to watch particular movies, we scan outside. So that means the trend or the behavior in which I behave in a week or in a month is being tracked. It is traced. It is traced automatically. And we are forced to give that a tracking, that tracking we have already given, correct? Of course, as I told you, like every technology has goods and bads. So this is something alarming, correct? Because we are being tracked. The behavior is being tracked. What I do in the morning, where I go afternoon for lunch, where I go for dinner, it is being tracked. So that means for a year, they can easily know like what is my favorite place to go or what is going to be my favorite area. I mean, like what is going to be the area in which I will be going at a particular time. So that is Internet of Behavior. So we are now no more at Internet of Things. The trend is moving at Internet of Behavior and Internet of Analysis. Again, these are all going to be integrated with 6G technologies. Okay, so that's where this big data analytics comes in. Okay, so that plays an important role. So for all these things, if you look at all or data, okay, so you have, it's basically your generation or evaluation of your communication devices. Now, all these things will not emerge or will not develop in future if there are no electronics in it, if there is no communication in it, if there is no networks in it. So therefore, there is a requirement for electronics, communication, and networking engineers in future, but they have to adapt to these latest technologies and trends. Say, for example, if we have an ECE student joining this year, then from 5 years from now, right, after 4 years, he will be graduating. So after 4 years is like around like 2026, right? So that's where your 6G is going to emerge. So they should be equipped with the requirements or the challenges to be faced in 5G as well as 6G, and also with all these emerging trends in which the data plays an important role. So data is basically received, data is processed, data is communicated. So everything is by data. So therefore, this is a very important research area with all these trending technologies embedded within our basic platform of electronic devices, communication, and networks. Even the current electronic devices or the concepts, if you look at multiplexer, demultiplexer, encoder, decoder, will not be still suitable for the 6G. They have to be embedded, I mean, not embedded, they have to be redeveloped, okay? They have to be modified in order to adapt this technological growth that is going to be in near future by 2030 or 2040, okay? So with this, let me end the session with the words, scientists study the world as it is, engineers create the world that has never been, in the words of Theodor One. And any questions?
I will unmute all the people, sir.
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir. Hello.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Hello.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hello, yes,
yeah.
sir.
This is Girish, sir.
Yeah, hi, sir.
Sir,
How this hello? How this big data is useful for EC students? Because how the data will be apply for any example, sir?
So your voice is bit breaking. I understand there is a big data question related to big data. Can you repeat again, sir? Sorry.
Sir, how big data analytics they're going for that big data analytics useful for EC students, sir?
Okay.
Because they are studying about the communication related, or they're going for that one. So how these are related to the EC students, sir?
Okay, sir. So for easy students, if you look at big data, is when you say big data is basically collection of data. Okay. So there are various areas in which they can focus. So it's basically if they wanted to, as I told you, like Internet of behavior analysis itself is a big area in which they can work actually in future. They need to know like the analytics part of it. So there are certain topics that they have to learn. But of course, they can always use on the, what can I say, the softwares that they have been already enhanced. If they enhance those softwares, then they will be able to apply analytics. Now, analytics could also be done using AI. So AI is one of the area in which they can focus. So once they have AI in their experience of how to train a network, of course, we are still having deep learning here. So we can, if we know like how to program a network, okay, then that should be fine.
So, sir, normally this one used for, so the data transfer from one point to other point, how much time it's taken for all the data you are collecting, and you're applying the tools like AI tools or deep learning, that comes to big data only, sir?
Yes, sir, that also depends. So when you talk about like the time, the latency, so that comes under networking part. Okay, so that's where network engineers will be required. So they need to look at like what could be the path. I mean that all depends upon networking and routing, sir, or routing if you want to be correct.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, yes, sir. Malini, ma'am. Yes, please.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening, ma'am.
Sir, this is Malini from Vivekananda College, Tamil Nadu.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, I have doubts that actually before that I should thank for your wonderful presentation, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yes, you will said about the research openings and the challenges in the 5G and the 6G actually. But at the same time, I like to know the role of optical networks, sir. What is the scope of optical networks in 5G and 6G? We know that all the cables are upgraded to optical nowadays because of the high security and data speed and all. But at the same time, I like to know what is the research scope and what is the research trend available in 5G and 6G, especially in optical networks, sir?
Okay, ma'am. I think like it's a good question here, but I'm not in that area, but still I can help you to answer this question. Basically, if you look at optical network is more on digitalization, right? As I mentioned earlier, the whole world is moving towards digitalization, okay? And of course, like optical communication is where the loss of data is zero, okay? The noise is zero, and your clarity of the data that is being transmitted is high. So there are some countries in which still they have preferred to be optical based, okay? So there is always a challenge in laying the cables, okay? Of course, if you look at laying of cables is going to be a challenge, okay? But of course, like how I can look into that research perspective, the research perspective will be on the data speed at which it is being propagated, okay? So that's where the challenges or the research could be in.
Sir, one more question, sir. Actually, more research papers are coming from China and Taiwan, sir, especially in optical area networks. Yes, but I found that some limited papers only coming from our country, sir.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sorry. Like as I mentioned earlier, they are in a world where we cannot think about. Okay. So that's how they work actually. We cannot even imagine. And I know like we all work like probably 8 to 12 hours maximum, right? But they are beyond that. Okay. So we cannot imagine and we cannot compete them in any way. So they have gone somewhere. So as I told you, but it all depends upon the political investments. Okay. It all depends upon the governments. it all depends upon the corporates. I'm sorry to say that, but it all depends upon the corporates as well and their investments. And I hope, like in any country, who rules the world? I mean, who rules a country, correct? So it all depends upon the economic sectors of that nation and that country, and of course, it affects the ultimate researchers and the scientists as well. I think a diplomatic way of answering this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I understand, sir. But actually, I have chosen my research area in this particular thing, sir. Actually, especially passive optical network, I'm just working on that, sir. I found
Okay.
so many difficulties, sir, because in choosing tools itself, I'm facing so many difficulties, sir. That's what I'm asking this question in this forum.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, you may contact me later after the session, probably tomorrow. I will look at around my friends around, and then I can connect with someone. If anyone is in this area, I can still connect you so that they can guide you well, ma'am.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Geeta, ma'am.
Sir,
Yes,
good evening,
yes.
sir.
Yes, please
Hi, ma'am. Good evening.
take your questions.
Yeah, we are very happy and grateful to your presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
I
Thank
want
you.
to ask one question, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Where we can place nanoelectronics in the curve that you have shown, sir? Is
Okay.
it growing or coming down?
Okay, it's a good question, ma'am. Actually, it is not going down. I think, like, if you all remember correctly, the 5G which started in 2017. Okay, I am trying to come to your answer,
Yes.
but indirectly, ma'am. In 2017, and then it peaked in 2019. Okay, but in 2020 or 2021, if it is not anywhere in the peak, I mean, anywhere in the curve or anywhere in the hype cycle. Why? Because there is a huge investment required for 5G. Okay, for the growth or for the deployment of 5G, there is a huge investment required by the service providers. And the return of investment, as I mentioned earlier, it all depends on return of investment. So if the return of investment is going to be faster, then they can move to the next technology of 6G, taking it to next level of 6G. So the same thing is happening with nanoelectronics as well. Okay, so nanoelectronics is now it is focusing on the materials, the nanomaterials. Now these nanomaterials have a larger scope actually. Okay, again, it's a political game of, sorry to say that, it is a political game again to take it out from the hype cycle. Okay, again, these nanomaterials are required, and there are certain certain giants that are looking for it. Okay, but nanoelectronics, yes, it has a wider scope. Even quantum computing has a wider scope and future. But all these things again depends upon, like there are certain giants who wanted to restrict this. And I know, like if you're all aware, there is demand for semiconductor chips in near future. So you will not be able to get your electronic components or semiconductor devices easily as how you purchase now. Okay, so your laptops, when you buy your laptops, probably like could be like 40,000 will become higher in near few months, because there is a shortage in chips as well. In semiconductor industries, there is a shortage of the starting materials.
Okay. It's a very good information, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Sir, one question from comment box.
Oh, okay, sir.
Madhukumar Patnala is asking, sir.
Yep.
What are the new value-added services can we expect in 6G?
What new value-added
Services? Yeah.
Okay. New value-added services is that it is going to be interfaced with intelligence, especially AI. So that means like you can have a speaking ability. Okay. So where whatever you think, it will still be in your hand. Okay. And the response time is going to be unimaginable. And I think, like as I told you earlier, we need to have a common data being transmitted and received across the globe. Okay, so that's where you all know, right? The giants have been working around. So, I mean, like they have difficulties, but that's a way forward moving. So we don't have to have different service providers across countries. It's just like how you move from probably like from Chennai to Bangalore, right? The service provider might be changed from one state to another state. But similar to that, you will be experiencing it across the world. So that's one of the thing that I can tell at this moment of time. But since it's all research based, we cannot confirm anything whether this will be provided or not. But everything is cost effective. So it all depends upon the economy of a country and also depends upon the service providers.
Okay, sir. Participants, any questions from your side?
Hello, sir.
Yes,
Hi,
sir.
Hello.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes,
Sir, I have
please.
one question, sir. For this nice presentation, I have only one question that, sir, is the 6G will support or the existing semiconductor will support the 6G because the frequency is so high. So,
No.
or the complete transformation will take place on the user end also.
Yeah, as you already mentioned, the current devices will not support such a high frequency. It will
Hello.
not support. Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
As you already mentioned, like the current devices will not support such high frequencies. It is going to be quite challenging, and the current devices cannot be used unless otherwise there is some miracle happening soon.
Okay, sir. So means I suppose that means by 2030 or some after 2030, if the technology will float in the market, then means all the every user have to change the device also.
Yeah, yes, sir. So that's why it is quite challenging, as I told you already. It all depends upon the service provider and the amount that is being invested and the economy of a country. Say, for example, if you look at China already released mobile devices that could work on 4G and 5G. So when you buy, I mean, like it's even before like 2 years back, even when 5G was not even deployed, there are mobile devices that claimed. So I cannot say that it is confirmed, but it is claimed, okay, so that it is suitable for 4G and 5G technologies. Okay, so such devices were already in market 2 years back. It is not just now. I'm not sure about in India, but in Malaysia and Singapore, those devices were from China. But when they marketed, they mentioned like it is suitable for 4G and it will adapt for 5G accordingly, but not experienced yet.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Is there any questions from participant side? Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. For any further questions or clarifications or for any research collaborations, they can always email me. So this is my email ID. And thank you all the participants for a wonderful evening. Okay, so I have just shared what I know. Okay, so basically I have not created or invented anything. So whatever the information is around us, I have just summarized it and I have just presented here. And thank you for giving me an opportunity for this, Dr. Ashok as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for your informative speech, sir. It's really helped us how electronics and communication based students as well as researchers will focus on interdisciplinary research. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for your valuable time spent with us.
Okay, have a nice day and have a nice evening for everyone. Thank you and bye.
Thank you, sir. Participants, already I posted feedback link in chat box. Once again, I will post it in WhatsApp group also. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you,
Thanks
sir.
to all participants. Tomorrow we will meet. Okay, sir. Bye, sir.
Yeah, bye, sir. Bye.
Can I close, sir?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir.